All right, so I have been organizing all of my tools, and I have this fairly nice set of gear wrench ratcheting combination wrenches, and I wanted to try this Kaizen foam stuff. I had some left over from a gun project I'd done a long time ago, a friend had done for me, and so I'm organizing all these, and they barely fit. You can cram them all in my small Craftsman tool chest on flat, but they have to be perfectly aligned to do so. So with them being laid out this way, I can get them in the case much better. And so I'm just going to walk through the process of using the Kaizen foam. One tip I have already is that this foam was thicker. It's designed for a gun case, so I had to rip it down. That was a challenge. This stuff separates between the layers where it's not glued. It actually tears where it's not glued, and you have to work your fingers underneath it. And I didn't get it perfectly flat across the bottom. It'll be fine. The top is in pretty good shape, and so I'm not too worried about it, but it was really annoying to do, so buy it in the thickness that you need. So what I've been doing here, I want to get these in pretty tight so they fit, and I've got plenty of space. So what I've been doing is putting them in a slight angle, and most videos I've seen say to trace them. I've actually not been doing that, partly because I'm lazy, partly because it's an experiment, partly because it's been working pretty well. I've just been putting these at an angle and using the edge of my wrench as my straight edge. You can see I put a cut there, put a cut there, I put a cut there. So what I'm going to do first is dig out the ends. And the reason is I'm putting all these at a slight angle, so it's a little hard to get the angle perfect for the body of the wrench versus the end of the wrench. So if you have the wrench at an angle like this, the end has to go in and it slides in a little bit. And by the time it slides in, where this actually contacts the surface of the Kaizen is going to be different than if it were just vertical. So what I've been doing to figure that out is to kind of open up this end. So get the ends marked and torn out enough, pluck out enough of the foam that I can set it back in there. You'll see here in a second once I set it back in there. So now I set it back in, you can see it's almost, let me tear a little bit more out. It's not ideal. It's a little hard with these really tiny ones. I mean, this is a 5/8 wrench. I don't know what it's going to be like when I get down to the 5/16, but okay. So now I can set it in there and kind of clock it to the angle I want, and it's touching exactly where the body is going to need to be. The foam is going to need to be removed. So, I should be able to just take my razor. I'm not going very deep here, but I can just run the razor at the exact angle I need. Oops, the wrench was up a little bit there. Run the razor at the angle I need. There. And again, this does not have to be perfect. The foam is fairly forgiving. It just needs to be a tight enough fit that it holds the wrench and keeps it from sliding around when I close and open the drawer. All right. Ooh, that got pretty ugly. That was not my best work. But you can see I got a little bit of an angle there. Like I said, that was not my best one. On these smaller ones, it's going to be a little bit harder. Even that is pretty good. I'm actually pretty happy with that. You see, this is probably my best one here. Is this 3/4. It doesn't look perfect, but especially on these little slits, I actually am doing it so it kind of is a little V groove, and then you set them in there. It just is enough to kind of hold them tight. This one actually probably is a little too loose, so I may go a little bit deeper and take some of the center out here. Once I do the initial kind of tracing and cutting, I just kind of eyeball it from there and trim where it seems like it needs it. And then plucking this stuff out of there is really annoying when it's a very small groove like this. You just kind of have to get in there. And I've seen guys use needle nose pliers, which I may have to resort to here in a minute, but for now, I'm just gonna. Okay, so I think the ends need a little bit more. See, it's touching right there. So I do a little bit. So I do the main cut on the ends. Then I lay it back in there, trace the body, and then I do a little bit of fine tuning. And from there, it's typically good enough. I'm not using the sharpest razor here either. kind of decided to do this on a whim. I think having a really, really sharp razor. I've seen kits online, they sell like medical scalpels, which if you were trying to be really fancy with this, I think would be definitely the way to go. All right, that's probably good enough. Yeah. All right, we'll pause the video here, come back in a minute with anything else we've learned or more progress. All right, here's the final product. So ended up fitting them all in, not super happy with how the last row ended up. Started over here with standard, came down this way, decided to do metric the same way but going up. So metric is all from smallest to largest, top to bottom, and standard is all largest to smallest. And so my little stubbies here are largest to smallest, and then smallest to largest on the metric. Really happy with the metric side, not super happy with how these ended up in the layout, but it's pretty clear, I think, when you're coming to the drawer that all these go with all those and all these go with those. So it's already pre-fit to fit in the toolbox. I'm gonna go out there and put it in there now. This one, if I had to do over again, this one's pretty far back. I won't use it that often. It's a 13/16. It's tucked under the drawer behind it a little bit, so the 5/8 over here. But thought about putting the 5/8 down here and then shifting all these up. I think I kind of wish I had done that, but it's okay. Way better than it was before. Took maybe an hour and a half to do all this. If I'd really focus on it nonstop, probably would have taken that long. So I would definitely recommend it. It's a pretty inexpensive way to organize everything. All right, here it is in the tool chest. Way better than it was before. Before, it's kind of like that. Things would rattle around. I may do the same thing with this. This is kind of my specialty wrench set. But that is nice. I think I think it's hitting a little bit on that top one up there. I can see it hit in the back corner. So I'm gonna sink that one down there a little bit more. But other than that, I'm super happy with this. I'll use metric most of the time. These are the cleanest ones. Definitely wish I had laid out a little bit better, but it's good enough.